So, over the period of the last 2 years, ever since this virus saga started, I've had this person who I live with that has a stay-at-home order, and it just never has ended. Um, to where every single day by 9 in the morning, I can expect to be woken up by them being very loud. They can never close the door. It's too power. I realize closing a door so that people don't have to hear you talking loud on the phone is the equivalent of having a superpower. But what's really interesting is they've been off on, I guess, vacation for the last couple of weeks. Um, and I got really excited at this prospect because, there was no loud calls at this point. So I'm laying here this morning sleeping. It's it's like nine something, maybe like 30, 40 minutes ago. And I get this big ring on my doorbell. And I go and I look outside. It's some guy with some package. And I'm just thinking to myself, in all the years of ordering stuff off the internet, because I've done some of it myself, I've never ordered from somewhere where they can't just leave it outside and where they come at 9 in the morning. Because I think people are aware of this. Like Amazon, for example, comes at somewhere between 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. usually. Anyways, usually for me. I know sometimes they've had later deliveries for some other people, but for me, it's around like that 6 hour window. But I was just really annoyed because I was tired of it. Oh yeah, there was a job I applied to last yesterday. It's like some kind of, I'm not gonna say what all it is, but with most positions I apply for, um, and again I'm just talking about like the ones where I've actually been able to have the job or whatever. Usually they want some kind of like identification stuff, maybe have a few shots of the vaccine. And I go and I look at the this person from today. They want me to take some test. I don't even know what it's for. I think they might have said it in the application, but I skimmed it over. And to get the booster shot, which is like the third or fourth shot for the virus. And I mean, like, I'm not even sitting here trying to spread anything as far as conspiracy theories, but I'm just tired of shots. Like, it was what, last year before that? Yeah, I think it was last year. I declined taking more than the first two because it was like it would never end. Like, I just hate them sticking stuff in my arm over and over. So I'm probably gonna not do that. Because you know what the other problem is? Like, oh yeah, please stick this thing in your arm twice or once, so we can hire you and then try to get rid of you after 2 weeks. What did I often say? The juice isn't worth the squeeze. Oh, and that same position I was talking about a couple of, yeah, what was on Saturday? The delivery driver, they're still hiring. So if anybody wants to apply for that position, they're ready for you. If you want to be denied water for in an 8 hour shift, they're ready. I think we've mentioned this a few times, but I always remember that there was a guy who was getting who had this other person was making videos on him, calling him irrelevant, which I've always thought it was so stupid to make a video on somebody, like to take a person who was so important and as for you to make a full video about, not a little 2 minute video, a full video talking about them and say they don't matter. I just always thought that was funny. Um, but he was talking about how this guy who's like basically a janitor is trying to make fun of him for being a podcaster, a commentator, where like people donate to him and that's how he's able to, I guess, provide for himself. But he said in reality, because the guy is on YouTube just as often as he is, he wants his position. Like in his heart, he wants that job because it's more fulfilling than going and cleaning up, people's places. Um And I was thinking about, I said, it's really crazy how there are so many jobs that you can tell if people didn't get paid to do them, they just wouldn't even bother. Because, like, for example, I always liked like, from what I've heard of the positions of mangakas, so these like Japanese artists that make their own comics, where they have to come up with the story, they have to draw it by a deadline, and even if something like that might be grueling or otherwise difficult for most people, at least something that most people don't do, or whatever the reasons are that they don't do it, I would find that a lot more fulfilling because if you believe you have some unique vision of a story and you're allowed to tell it in this medium, I think it would. I don't know. I always felt Japanese comics were way more respectable than American ones. Like, American ones peaked during the '60s, '70s, and '80s, and they've just been on a downward spiral since then. You get some good stories here or there, but just like in general, they really have fallen off. People don't buy it anymore. Comic stores seem to get smaller and smaller every year. I remember was watching this. I think I mentioned I was watching this one podcast, and the guy, the host, said that he didn't that Bane, so the Batman villain, is one of the reasons he doesn't like '90s comics. And I laughed because it's so, like, you usually either have two people. You have the ones that read comics and ones that refuse to under any circumstance. And usually they don't really have a period that they dislike. Like, I've never seen someone say, "Oh, I don't like '90s music." "Oh, I don't like '90s movies." Just I've never seen that before, where they have like a specific decade of stuff of material they just hate. Usually they either like it in general or they dislike it in general. Mm. There's really no if and in betweens. Mm. But yeah, I don't think I'm gonna go for that position because there's a little too much stuff they want me to do. Like I said, we know these places like to spring stuff up out of nowhere to try and trap you, or to, like, get you to do something that they don't lead on with. I mean, who could forget earlier this year the place that hired me after the interview, and they had me jump through a series of hoops, get your card and get all, and I did all of what they told me to. And then at the end of it, they're like, "Oh, and by the way, make sure that you memorize this extremely long 2 paragraph thing." And I'm like, "I'm not about to memorize this so you can fire me in 3 weeks, and then it'll show how I spent all this time learning this for nothing." Seriously, I don't regret doing that because a lot of these positions do treat their workers like almost like a carnival act. Like, how much ridiculous stuff can we expect you to put up with and do? I mean, like, you go to this for example, this retail position, and you have people, cursing you out because of something that the store doesn't have, getting angry at you, and just all this other weird stuff. And it's like, you put up with that, and you keep tolerating, you keep putting up, because you're like, "Okay, I get paid for this. This is something you just have to put up with." And then you get let go of anyway because people went on the website and gave negative reviews, even though they do it to everybody else. But you're the newest employee, so you don't have plot armor. Mm. Yeah, I really, I don't know. I just feel like sour about a lot of these positions because, and I'm not even here to toot my own horn, but I always felt like there should be more, like, job opportunities. When I say that, I'm not talking about, oh, apply for 300 positions. I'm just saying, like, stuff that specifically is tailor made for someone like you. I just think there should be more job opportunities for someone that can write, that can draw, that can edit videos. Um, I don't know. I really believe that there's something it really says something about how just crappy the job market is if it's like, oh, this person likes to do these types of things and he's got a job that has nothing to do with any of it. It's just I don't know, just I just always felt like really sour about the disparity. I don't know. Maybe what I'm saying makes a little bit of sense. It's kind of like when a lot of times from what I've seen, there's these and I haven't seen it in real life, but there's like movies and shows, for example, where they'll have some person go into a store, not store, but to a it's like a person who I guess assists them with getting employment, and they'll ask them what can you do, and then they'll name certain stuff, and like usually it's a comedy bit where they can't do anything or they don't have any like particular skills. I was like, I it's really crazy how you can, and I again, I'm not saying this to toot my own horn, but I can draw, I can write, I can edit stuff, which I know is not something anyone can just do. It takes some level of talent at the very least. Um, and for whatever reason, you're like you get nothing. You get to sit on a website and apply for a bunch of positions where most of the bastards that put that stuff up don't even respond. And then you have all these people online who pretend that getting a job is so easy. But if we go to the middle section of California, my state, we can go and look at all the homeless people that are laying around. And the only way you justify their existence, if in this supposedly easy period of being able to get a job whenever you want, is to just go and accuse all of them of wanting to be homeless, which is a really stupid thing that I've heard some people say. Unfortunately, everybody that all the people who have a job just don't want one. Just world fallacy at rearing its ugly head again. It's like really think how crazy that is. It's like you're telling me this person who you know nothing about, you have no experience with them whatsoever, that what their goals were, what their ambitions were, what happened to them, no idea of what occurred before you're seeing them on the street. Oh yes, they just didn't want to work. Yeah, that's what I say. I get so sick of that stuff. But yeah, it just seemed to me that there should be more career opportunities and some kind of I don't want to call it like a specific thing that only I can do, but just I don't know. I feel like if people are able to edit with these different softwares to make videos or whatnot, if they're able to write in some proficient manner, if they're able to illustrate, I just think there should be something more to like their career opportunities than go on this website and keep applying to these random places. I don't know. It just always seemed like such a just I don't know, like something was wrong about that. I didn't even get to put down that I know a lot about history as well, which is something that if I had a degree I could teach. Um, it just goes back to why I'm so frustrated with this whole stupid process. Oh, it's really weird how like everything I would say I'm actually proficient at doing, as in like I feel some level of confidence in my ability to do. I never had any formal training for. Like I didn't become proficient with history because I went to all these different courses. Like, you go on the internet, you read stuff. There's documentaries that are free as well. They oftentimes on YouTube they'll upload some historians talking about some event, things like that. But I just find it really interesting that it never was something I thought about until recently, of how everything I feel confident in my ability to I guess espouse or demonstrate, it's never been through any formal education. I think I might have taken one art class that wasn't like a requirement in high school, and that was about it. I remember my art teacher from when I was in I think it was ninth grade came to school wearing this pink suit. He was a man. Um and he like all the students in the back were laughing at him. It's really interesting how these colors have like changed over time in terms of their meaning, where they used to put little boys in pink and little girls in like baby blue, and now like swapped it around. I just thought that was interesting, just how like little subtle changes. Just like a lot of people used to not be born in hospitals, they were born in their house or some other private setting. Oh man. No, it's been a really difficult past couple of weeks. And I don't know, just I've just always thought that there should be something. I don't even want to get in any kind of philosophical discussion, but just of like I guess for a lack of a better term, like a higher caliber, like, oh, this person what's another thing somebody can know? This person is very proficient at science, but then they're working at a grocery store. Just I don't know, I just always thought that was weird. Like, you know, it just seems to me that like there should be more opportunities for people that have different things they can do in some particular way, if that makes sense. It's just my opinion. Because everybody always talks about college and whatnot, but I don't know. Like I never went to school for art, so even if I could draw, basically, no matter how well you could draw as an artist, you still wouldn't have any degree to go along with that anyway. So yeah, the whole thing just sucks. I'm probably gonna get demonetized now because I said the evil S word. Mm. Man, some of these YouTube ads are so ridiculous. I saw one yesterday. It's an hour and a half. I'm really serious when I say that I remember the time where there were no ads on YouTube, and even back when there were like more partners, it's like 2012, 11. You really didn't have long ones that much. Maybe they were a couple minutes. Maybe it was like a movie trailer. I think I mentioned there was this one ad that I always remembered because it was 9 minutes long or 7 minutes long. I think, yeah, 9 minutes, and it was talking about Pope John the Second or something. Some the Pope that died in when I was in like I think second grade, like 2005, and they got into some weird discussion about the second coming and the resurrection. And it was really baffling to me because I was intrigued by how long the commercial was, and I had some like vague familiarity with that particular Pope because he was around for at that point, half of my life. But still, it was crazy just that like you would go on YouTube and watch a video. I think about like somebody making a game review, movie review, discussing some social topic about like how stupid certain people are, and then you're what by the end before the video even starts, you're watching an ad that is almost what as long as the video itself and is about the deceased pope. It was really weird. And now when I go to these videos, there's ads where it's a full episode of somebody's show. I watched two. There was this one show that came out last year, and I'm forgetting its name, where it's about some woman, I think, and like the pilot episode, 22 minutes, was made into an ad for a video. And I watched the whole thing because I was like, oh, this is kind of funny. Where's the show's actual name? I just thought it was so weird. So many ads. I tell you, if you're big enough on this website, you can get ads and break every rule. YouTube won't even bat an eye. Like they'll demonetize me if I use light swearing or if I say certain terms that aren't even curse words. Um, and I know there's certain terms that are like offensive, obviously like the C word, for example. And I'm not saying like it's the one that ends with it's like a certain four-letter word that's not crap. But what I thought was really crazy is that I'm not even joking. A lot of these people, when they don't even just say curse words, they're like saying extremely explicit things as well, and they don't get in trouble by this site at all. Like as far as being demonetized, like you click on one of their videos, if you watch the whole thing through, if it's maybe like an hour, 2 hours long, you're gonna see like 20 ads. That's because YouTube knows they can make a lot of money for themselves because this person's popular if they just bend their own rules a little bit. See, that's what happens when websites don't have competition. They don't they get to just make and choose what their rules are. Like I always felt as if when a site creates it, and this is just my opinion, when a site gets made, it should have a set of guidelines. And then after that, any like rules it tacks on are subject to like being challenged in some capacity. What I mean by that is I think it's wrong that let's say you sign up to a website and they allow people to what's something to post graphic content, okay? And then 2 years later, on this same website, they announce we will no longer be hosting graphic content. And you're like, well, wait a second, you guys like you appealed to me because I got to post whatever I wanted. That as far as graphic stuff was concerned. But see, that's why I said that like a lot of these sites they change their rules over and over. And it is frustrating for some people that have been around longer who remember when those rules weren't in place. Like I said, I remember early YouTube. That website looked like the wild wild west. So it's just really it's just inconsistent in my view to be able to just keep changing your rules and be like, oh, if you don't like it, oh well, go somewhere. We're the only video sharing website that actually is profiting and getting bigger and larger. But yeah, go somewhere. Anytime you have a website and they don't have a competitor, they get ahead of themselves. I really think if Daily Motion or Vimeo, and those two have been around for years as well, like over 10 years. If those two sites had experienced at least two-fifths of the rapid growth that YouTube has, um, YouTube would be very different as far as like it would actually try to appeal to people, and there probably wouldn't be as many rule changes because they would be worried about losing their supporters, like having people, because when you have a site that like has a billion active users, you don't have anything to worry about. But very seriously, if they had some person or other site that was like nipping at their heels, like, hey, we're gonna come and we're gonna take your audience, YouTube would have shifted completely a couple of years ago. They would have said, "All right, we can't sit over here making stuff up as we go along. We need to have some consistency, and we have to stop alienating people." This person has an alliterative name where it's where the first two letters are excuse me, the first letter of both are starring with the same letter. So that was another package. Like I said, I've never seen packages come that early. What ends up happening a lot of times is I'll order some from Amazon. They'll be like, "Oh, it's coming at between 1 to 4 o'clock," and then you're like, "Oh man, I could be playing this or getting this package as early as 1 in the afternoon." And of course, they have 900 stops before they get to you, so they're going to be coming around 4 or 5. I like how they really do like lean on that deadline where they'll come maybe 2 or 3 minutes before that little window they gave themselves is up, and they will throw that box onto your porch and run off. Because I remember one time my dad ordered something off of there, and they threw the box into the I think into like a tree or something. It was crazy. It's like, what's wrong with you? But that's the worst part about being a delivery driver, that they're always on the move and they have to like meet these. I mean, like when I was describing the position, 300 stops a day, no water, and you've got me doing it. Are you serious? I'm not even joking. There is some work in this world that no one should do. No one should have to drive all the way across the damn state in the span of 8 hours to deliver 300 packages a day. Maybe 300 a week, maybe 300 every 3 days, not 300 every day. That's insane. It's really ridiculous. And I feel bad for anybody that has that position. I'm sure there are some people who do it and they might enjoy it or otherwise not have a problem with it. But I really do believe a lot of places that even get anyone to work for them in the first place only get people to work for them because they're like the only thing they have. Because when I was a kid, I wanted to work for Marvel, like making comics, for example. Um, and actually, what's really funny is that Marvel was the first company I ever tried to find out like what they wanted. And I'll never forget when I went on their website. This is like 10 years ago, 11, 12 years ago. So maybe it might be different now, but they said, if we want you, we'll come to you, as far as like, if you're some proficient person in the industry. And they said if you send us your work and we didn't solicit it, it will be destroyed. And I just sat there and was thinking to myself, I was like, wow, this company is literally telling you, we are don't call us, we call you. And if you send us your stuff without us asking for it, we're gonna blow it up or we're gonna put it in the fire or feed it to the sharks. I thought that was crazy. I couldn't believe what I was reading. I was like, so there's no way of actually applying to these people and being like, hey, here's my portfolio of art. Um, you know, I've written some stuff as well. They would just turn you down anyway. And the other issue is that since most people don't read comics, you have to basically rely on this really fringe group that's like, let's say if you work for I don't know, what's another publisher, IDW, right? And you get people talking about how good your series is, really nice, whatever. That at most is going to be like a couple thousand if you're lucky. And Marvel still might not see that. So it's just, I don't know. I'm not even saying this to be pessimistic, but it really did start seeming impossible to actually ever hope of working with them when you know that they don't accept applications and they have this like weird "we come to you" position, I guess. Oh, I was really disappointed. I didn't even bother looking at DC. But I always remembered how crazy it was that they said if you send us your things unsolicited, it will be destroyed. I'm just picturing the Marvel like I guess they have like a secretary, like fields through the mail, and she puts all the people's stuff that's coming where they like are trying to get accepted by the company, but they're not being asked to actually apply or not. She puts all their stuff on top of each other, and she gets this big blowtorch and just lights all of it up. That's always the image I had of what they do to those things they don't want. Because like I said, people are really crazy. They just sit here and think that you're supposed to I don't know, just put up with everything. And I was actually going to do a video where I was just talking about how like I don't believe if somebody wants to work a job that pays them or excuse me that has them employed for 40 hours a week so they can actually take care of themselves. I don't believe a person wants something as simple and as basic in terms of its accommodations as that. They should have to apply to hundreds of places. I really I just I think when you take something because like there's a whole bunch of people Monday through Friday, they get up at 8 in the morning, 7 in the morning. They're at the office by 9 in the morning, and they leave by 5 in the afternoon. I refuse to believe it should be this hard to get a position like that. Because we talked about this before. You go to these people and you say, "Hey, I want to work 40 hours a week," and they give you like 3 hours on Saturday and 2 hours on Sunday and 5 hours on two. Like that stuff will make me want to just quit automatically then and there because these are not sufficient hours for me to be able to take care of myself. And they're pricks because remember you told them on your application and in their face you want 40 hours a week. So if they refuse to give you that after you tell them this is what I need to survive, you might as well quit because this job is not doing its job of being something that is able to provide you with stability because the douchebags running the company won't hire you for the full shift that you asked for when you applied in the first place. But I just really wonder like where did this thing start where you're expected if you want something as menial and as basic as just having a regular day-to-day job. I mean, it could be anything. It could be street sweeping, taking care of the elderly, um, you know, guarding traffic. I mean, the point is I'll never understand where if someone has a basic desire to just work somewhere for 40 hours a week so they can have a job where they can take care of themselves, you have these like all of these applications you're expected to do. Then you have to hope and pray that you'll be picked over the other people. I mean, when I went to that job fair last month, I was thinking, oh, it's gonna be like 5 people there, applying, whatever. And there were so many people in that damn line, they had to cut it in half. So I don't know where this myth was created where it's so easy to get a job, but it has not been for me or for any of the other people that are in my area. Like I said, if I wanted to, I could take my camera and just go around just recording all the homeless people. And we'll see how easy it is to live. People love to just have this fake mentality of things being so simple. Like in their heart of hearts, they truly believe if you just do this one thing, if you just do that, everything will be magically better. I don't know where they get this idea from. I mean, heck, I went to sleep at 2 a.m. Yesterday, and I thought, at worst, maybe I'll do the stream at 11 because I just, get like a full morning's worth of sleep. I had no way of predicting that there would be uh stuff arriving at 9 and 10. Like, but see, that's why I said about how there are certain things that are out of your control that you're not aware of. Like, I don't, for example, if I order something off the computer, unless because Amazon, for example, sometimes does this thing where they're like, "You ordered this to come on Sunday, but now it's coming on Saturday. Isn't that so much better?" Usually, if I order something off the computer, I try to actually be there to receive it. Like, I don't just go, "Oh, well, hey, person, there's this thing that's coming, so can you get it for?" I don't do that. So I don't understand the logic of I'm going to go and not be here, and then this stuff is going to come early in the morning, which is when that person is usually up, and then the person who is trying to not be up has to get up and get it for me, and I'm going to call them and tell them to do this. It's just it's just really obnoxious, man. Like even when they're not physically here, they're still annoying. You know, they just go away. Seriously, I've never done that with anybody where if I order something, the only time I won't be there to get it is if there's some impromptu interruption of my schedule. Like, oh, you have this person wants you to go with them here, even though they didn't tell you yesterday. But again, that's like that still is more mindful on my part than of the other person with regard to the stuff from today. I just think it's so annoying. Man, I was laying there, resting my head against my pillow. It felt so good. And here comes the interruption. So I said, it feels like at all hours of the day, there's some person or people that are like, oh, you ordered this. This person ordered that. And even the stuff I order, it's never you have to sign your signature, any of that. It's your name's on the box, that this is the address. There you go. Sometimes I've been really excited for something. I'll actually sit outside waiting for it. Just out of excitement, like, oh man, when's this thing coming? But outside of that, I usually I don't know. I'm just irritated because that really did mess up my sleep, and the fact that they weren't here had me excited at first that I would be able to sleep longer than I usually do. But I do think something is wrong with the idea that if you want to go to sleep, you have to like schedule it at a time where because this person is up from 9 a.m. to like 12 in the morning. So you have, and they're always on their phone talking loud, having these never-ending phone calls. I would if I ever saw their phone bill, I would be very shocked if they don't spend at least 8 hours every day talking to different people on the phone, just like consecutively, um, every single day, at least 8 hours on the phone, just nonstop calling this person. Because, like I said before, I've never seen it. Like jobs and offices have people that sit at their desk type stuff. But also with jobs and offices, they usually don't have employees that just sit on the phone calling up their whole peanut gallery of buddies and talking about, whatever gossipy garbage that they've decided to sink out. It's just it's really obnoxious, man, because it's so loud. And the only time you're afraid of it is when they're asleep or if they leave. Or maybe if someone is visiting them, for example. Which I always thought was so funny. It's like all these people have vehicles and they all have a way that like transportation to get from wherever they want to go, and they can't come to see each other. But they're friends and they all care so much about each other. Yeah, I said before the way someone doesn't matter like to your life is if every time they come over your house, they come to see somebody else that lives there. And if they say something to you, it's only because you happen to be there while they are there as well. Like they're not actually there to ask you if you're all right or to see how you're doing. Because I said before that if I lived anywhere else, I've got about 10 or 15 different people, different relatives, excuse me, that I would never see again. Like they wouldn't call me. Um, you know, I'm certainly not going to let them. Well, they won't even drop by anyway because they don't. You get the idea that it's. I think something is so pathetic about the idea that you want to sit here and pretend to care about somebody who you only see in person ever because you happen to be going somewhere that they live to go see another person that lives there. It's extremely tacky. It's stupid and it's fake. But this is what people do. They sit here and they have um these masks of what they think a concerned person looks like. So an actual concerned person, a person who actually cares about you, is going to call you. They're going to try to do things with you. Um, they're going to actually like make an effort to speak to you more than a couple of times per year. But these people, it's like they're not busy, and what I mean by that is like, yeah, yeah, some of them have jobs, but they are off of work enough to where they can realistically once a week come to see, especially on the weekend where they're all just acting like complete bozos anyway. But they choose to not say anything to you, to not call you. If they visit, they're coming to see somebody else. And it's like, how what about this is love? That's why I said every time somebody says I love you, depending on, well, usually depending on who it is, but like anytime one of these people says that, I just roll my eyes. I've never heard you say I love you. Yeah, because I don't feel the same way. And I know that they don't either. But I don't do the pretend BS because I like to be consistent. I had a person just yesterday. I saw them by happenstance. They said hi to me. I ignored them. And I did that because they acted like a complete douchebag last year who treated one of my favorite relatives like dirt. So yeah, that they're I am vindictive in that way. We're not doing anything to them, but we're not going to talk to somebody like that. I don't know. Everybody has this thing about you being nice to people and saying it's like I'm nice to people are nice to me, high and by. But if you do something to someone I cared about, I can't let it slide. I don't know why that's such a hard concept for people to understand. If someone treats people that you care about or really like in some manner that you think is not befitting, God, I hate when they do that. With the ways in which you expect for people to be treated, how you treat others, then I think you have a right to be upset. I think you have a right to be upset over anything you want. I just feel like a lot of people sit here and they try to make somebody feel bad for believing something or wanting something. It's like I'm sorry, but you're not going to make me feel bad for working at some garbage company and then doing everything you could to appease them and then getting fired anyway when people kept going on some website complaining about you, which they do to everybody else as well. Oh yeah, there was this one application I was filling out yesterday, and what happened was that one of my relatives came over, like to invite me to go with them somewhere, and they got there sooner than I thought they would. And as I was looking at the application, I was like, these questions are really like annoying. As in, they're asking me stuff that I really don't care that much about, and they're probably not going to answer back or say anything to me anyway. So I just said, forget it. I think that's the first incomplete application I've ever done. Because, like I said, I'm at a point where I just don't care anymore. Like I'm done getting invested in this stuff, and let me stay and make sure I finish. No, because what's the point? What's the point? You 9 times out of 10, you hear nothing back, and if you do hear something back, they're saying we don't want you. So I don't. It's not something I lose sleep over. Like it sucks to be unemployed perpetually, but if you know that you did everything you could to make circumstances different, then you're not going to feel bad. As far as like over your role. I remember we did this, I think it was a video about like the forgotten man, and there was this guy in the comment section that was, because people are all antagonistic to everything. I forgot. He was like, it doesn't make any sense. What you're saying is dumb because people wouldn't want to watch a movie on uh, a garbage man because there's other people that are garbage men too. As I said, I guess the problem that people on the internet have, especially, is that they give these like surface level uh theories on stuff. Like when they talk about something, you can tell they didn't put that much thought into it. So I didn't say this to him directly because talking to him is a waste of time, but the counter example I had was that for just as an example, me and my best friend both went to high school for 4 years, went to two different high schools. Um, Even though we both went to high school for 4 years, we had different experiences. I was someone who had people, say certain nasty stuff to me. He apparently was not as, misfortunate in that regard. I'm someone who struggled with math. I don't think he's had problems with math. I'm not sure. But, I had different family members dramas as well. But and it's like all I'm getting at is to try to say that he and I, by going to high school for 4 years, had the same experience is to completely diminish and otherwise pretend that the only thing that happened in that 4 year period of both of our lives was we both went to different classes, and got grades that we were passable and able to ascend beyond that. The point I'm making is there's so much stuff that happens to a person outside of their like these. It's kind of like if I said, "Oh, let's make a movie on a person that likes to draw." There's a whole bunch of people that like to draw. It's like, yeah, but some people like to draw have had formal education. Some people who like to draw learned it all by themselves, such as yours truly. So even if we have something in common, how we get there, what we choose to do with it, it's still different enough to where it would warrant actually discussing the nuances of it. I guess what upsets me about that so much is that, like, most people have regular jobs. Most people are not famous YouTubers, or they're not, some big, huge, notable figure. But in reality, the only reason that I or anyone else that makes content on this website would be more notable than them is because people choose for it to be that way. I mean, just to give an example, nobody would ever say, like, let's say, a bagger at a grocery store is some position that will make a person famous. Person who's in that position will be notable, whatever. But let's say, for example, the bagger is just I'm just gonna throw a name out there. Let's say the bagger is Chris Brown. Well, now a whole bunch of people are gonna go to that grocery store to see him bagging their stuff and pay attention to him and record him and pull their phones out probably and try talking to him because that's someone who is considered to matter. And even though they're in this like menial position, they are still receiving the attention of someone who is important. I mean, really, if you think about it, anyone that work, like, for example, I know some companies, when somebody gets like a work anniversary, like this person's been with us for 10 years, they'll put up like a little video or something else celebrating it. And really, if they wanted to, like, for example, let's say I work for some company for 30 years, right? And they make a video that's like 10 minutes long where they talk about my history with the company and how I've helped all these different people, etc. And let's say that video, it gets put on YouTube and it gets 500,000 views or 100,000 or a million. It's like, well, now this person who usually no one's ever heard of, never knew about, by virtue of being the centerpiece of this viral video, has received some larger level of exposure than they otherwise would have. And even though they work for this company for however many years, that still is not entirely who they are. I mean, the company didn't make their personality, and there's certainly things that have happened to them outside of working for there in the last 3 decades as well. All I'm getting at is it's so irritating to take people and like reduce them to these positions that they've had. Like, oh, this person went to this school, they work over here, whatever, and act like they're the same as their coworker or their classmate because they're not. I mean, like, for example, when I was in 11th grade, I had classmates who would leave campus to go buy stuff from stores and then sneak back. I never went with them. When I was in, I mean, that same school year, I had classmates who were watching porn on the teacher's computer, and they go into history and they delete the record of it. But like I didn't do that. I'm just saying, like to to sit here and pretend that everybody is the same because they have one or two things in common. Because it's kind of like there was a person who's selling this one form I used to operate on that trying to get something that has like never been seen before in its entirety is like trying to make a story that has nothing in common with anything else. Like this person is in the US, right? And they went to school like everybody else. They went, and probably had their own shortcomings like everybody else. But what specifically did they go through? What types of things did they enjoy? What did they like to do? It's just I don't know. I really believe that if people stop having these extremely surface level glances at things, it would be a lot more beneficial in terms of having a conversation or just like acknowledging like, hey, this person actually mattered. Like maybe they didn't get a bunch of subscribers on YouTube, maybe they didn't have their name known by millions of people, but they were important to someone who is also significant in their own way. And I don't know, just I've always like the problem with fame to me is the idea that people who do good things get completely ignored. And then you see all the different murderers, for example, that go around and get famous off of that. But really, that's a society problem more than anything else, where all the sensationalism. Because by the way, sensationalism can be something much less scandalous than killing a person, for example. Just to go to like backtrack off the serial killer thing for a second, you could have a tabloid that talks about a celebrity getting divorced or a celebrity jaywalking. I mean, these are certainly more mundane things than somebody's life being ended. So I just always felt like people never want to acknowledge that the things that are considered important, the people who are considered important, are decided by others. I don't know, they just get on my nerves. They want to always treat stuff in this really surface level way. This person had the same job as everybody else, but they weren't the same as everybody else. Just like for example, me and my brother both like a lot of the same series, although he's certainly more into Yu-Gi-Oh than I am or ever was. But he doesn't like to read comics, for example, which is an opinion or a belief that I even when I was like a kid, like 8, 9, 10, 11, I loved comics. I used to go to Barnes and Nobles and what was it, Borders, to go and read them, and I would sit in the manga or the comic section and just read stuff because I knew I couldn't afford it, like just to get some kind of preview of it. So even if he and I like the same series, we're still not the same. I don't know. I just feel like people they're always trying to, again, surface level glances on stuff. They never want to acknowledge the what's a good way of putting it? I guess the intricacies of things, like, do these two people act the same way all the time or at all? It just seems like it never comes up. God, I get so many messages from people just every day. And it's not even actual people, it's like a bunch of bots. Donate to this candidate. It's like, yeah, whatever. Um, I just think it's so sad that like because I don't want to keep using myself as an example, but okay, there are a lot of people who I'm trying to think of something else. Like talk about the romance stuff, for example. Just I mean, I'm gonna have to use it because I can't think of anything else, but just for an example. There are a lot of people that talk about the romance stuff, but I'm not joking when I say that before doing the stuff I did, I never saw anybody make videos on like what it was like to get rejected over and over and over again and like just abandon all hope and like, oh, all this stuff that these people tell you to do is just a bunch of nonsense. So even in acknowledging that other people had discussed this topic before, I still don't believe that there were, at least, because maybe somebody else did. I just didn't see it, but I haven't I had not seen before making my stuff anyone address it in the way that I did. I really didn't. I still to this day don't hear people talking about external factors. It's just more the same old, con artist scammer BS of, oh, this woman will like you if you do X, Y, and Z. And I never saw anyone talk about it the way I did before I started doing my stuff. That's just my honest recollection of the events that caused me to even want to talk about it in the first place. I don't know. I think it's really interesting just how people it's like they give into certain things. Like, this person is not famous because they're ordinary and they work for this company. It's like, but are they not famous because they're less deserving of it than others? Are they less famous than, because they're uh some lesser quality person? Because let's be very clear, a lot of infamous people and even some famous ones have done horrible stuff. So if they can be famous for doing things that are bad, why can't somebody be famous for doing things that are good? That's what you're supposed to do. Yeah, but there are people in this world that go above and beyond. People who take care of kids that are not theirs, people who work for some company for decades and they're like a pillar of support for everybody there. I think stuff like that should be known. I think people like that should be more remembered and talked about and discussed. Like I said, fame is something that is chosen by others. Because right now, if people wanted to, just as an example, they could take a person. Who's a good example? Let me think of something. Um, let's say you have some channel that talks about movies and they only have like 400 subs, but maybe they're addressing the movies in some way that a bunch of people think is very unique and fresh and different. You could get a bunch of them to go on that person's channel and start pouring subscribers in and thumbing up all the videos and sharing it all over the net. And then what happens? That person gets more well known. They become more known by others because a group of people decided that should be the case, that they should be more well known for doing something unique and that's actually entertaining. So I say again, fame is something that's determined by people in general. Just like if I took there was a lady that I used to know when I was a kid. She passed away about 3 years ago. She's a really nice lady who at certain points used to watch me, for example. But let's say I decided to ask her son about her and get all the information, and then I decide to make a whole TV season dramatization of about their relationship, just the two of them, their relationship, what it was like, the dynamics they had, the sagas they went through, and then this movie on these two people that nobody's ever heard of gets 100,000 views, 200,000 views, 500,000, a million. Then guess what happened? Now these people who nobody knew of are known. Now the story of these individuals that otherwise would have been completely neglected by society is something that people are familiar with. Certainly to a larger extent than they would have been if that film hadn't been made. But I reiterate this, people choose who is famous and who is not. And you don't, and like I said, um, don't let anyone sit here and tell you that just because you work for some company in a menial position that no one should know who you are, you're a nobody. There are plenty of people that again have 100,000 subs on this website you've never even heard of. there are plenty of CEOs of major companies that people are not familiar with. So I really hope that that people just, I don't know, just have an open mind about stuff. Like, damn, always like that. That's one of the problems I have with just people in general. They just seem like they have no imagination. Like they can't. It's like they've been taught that things are this one way, where if you go out and do good things, you'll be completely forgotten, ignored, etc. If you go out and kill people, then you have movies made about you and books written about you. But if you have a problem with that, if you think something's wrong with that, it can be changed. If you don't watch that stuff, or excuse me, if you actually promote people that you think did good or great or amazing things, then suddenly more people are going to know who they are. They don't understand the concept of sociological imagination. No, and they don't understand that fame is manufactured. Nobody wakes up unless their parents are famous. That's one, but nobody woke up and just overnight became famous because they went on the internet and said something, and like people chose to watch their stuff. If somebody's a singer, people choose to buy their records. If somebody, like I said, if someone works at a gas station and they're like funny and they're a teller and somebody records them and puts up the video, now everybody knows who they are. So again, all of this stuff relating to who's well known and who isn't is determined by people. This isn't something that's written in stone. One of the reasons that Jesus is one of the most famous historical figures, like to where people who've never even read the Bible know who that is because they keep retelling the story and all these different editions of the Bible, and there's movies made about it. You know, but if Christians wanted to, they could say, hey, you know what? We're done with this religion. We're never going to talk about anything in the Bible ever again. And then Jesus would be forgotten. Like I said, people choose what is considered notable and what isn't. I mean, hell, if people decided tomorrow I would have 1,000,000 subs, we could have 999,000 people just clicking the subscribe button, and there you go. Nothing ever is the way it is because it just is that way. Majority of the stuff in our society, from our government to our cultures and norms, are constructed by humans. Yes, and I'm also saying that historical reputations and who is considered important is something else that is considered that is shaped by humans. If you look at the top any like list of top 10 musicians or stuff like that, people decided that. When they do polls and they ask people who's the most admired man in the world, stuff like that is determined by people voting one way or the other. So I'm saying that if people really wanted, they could make anybody important. Imagine if I was a college professor and I have 3 students who come back 10, 20, 30 years later and they say, hey, you know what? You're one of my favorite teachers. You really shaped my beliefs. You were very helpful to me. I want to write a book about you. And then there you go. Now I have 3 different books written about me, and like now more people seemingly know who I am. I'm not going to say like now I'm famous because people don't even read, but you get the idea that in instances like that, it's a person who does what's considered a normal job, and because of how exceptional they were at it, they get more notoriety off of this good thing that they did because of the people, the students, and how they chose to honor them in respect for their contributions to their life. I mean, look at the Kotsky merchants. People think with their intuition too much. I don't think they think at all. They just say things. You should not be famous because you work for a catering truck. I'm like, okay, but there are plenty of people who are famous that worked in regular positions. But like, how does me working for this menial company dictate the full extent of what would make me notable or not. Like for all you know, the person that works the catering truck could have a beautiful singing voice. So I say it just seems so weird to me to like take somebody and pretend as if because they have this regular job, there's nothing unique about them, there's nothing worth remembering about them. I think that's all BS. Like I said, if Akatsuki Merchant had, I mean, if people wanted to, they could, in real life, have throw him a big party, and be like, hey, you really meant something to us. We're going to tell your story to others. That's why I said, don't let anyone convince you that things have to be this way. You know what a really good example of like of what I'm talking about is if you so Akatsuki Merchant, you know that for The Simpsons, the creator Matt Groening, his parents were named Homer and Marge, and that's why the parents are named that. And then he had two sisters that were named Lisa and Maggie, and that's why the sisters are named. So, like, I mean, even without him as a creator being that like particularly well known, because creators usually are not as known as their work. Because he put his family's names on these characters that are very well known, people know those names now. Like I don't know anybody in real life named Homer, but because his dad was named that, one of the most iconic American cartoon characters has that name. So that really should tell you that his dad did matter. I mean, look at The Legend of Korra. The Mako is named after Iroh's original voice actor who passed away sadly. I think it was like 2005, 2006. So even people who probably would have forgotten this man will all, if they like Korra and they look at the behind the scenes stuff, one of the show's main characters is named after him. That's really crazy that you can have buildings named after him. People won't even like look to see why is this named after this person. They just, I think a lot of people just have like the most menial existence. They just go around and they work some job 40 hours a week and then that's it. Like they don't have any desire to learn stuff, know about things, nothing. Just it's really sad. Oh man, I'm getting on one of my tangents. I don't know. I just wish people would stop pretending that like fame is this thing that occurs only for these select few who deserve it and have earned it and have done these. It's like there's a whole bunch of people that are well known that did terrible things, and I refuse to believe that if enough people made a concentrated effort toward making a normal good person famous or notable, the same thing couldn't happen in the reverse direction. A lot of people say stuff not because they arrive at those positions logically or because they have any convictions. It's just intuitively feels good to say it. They love to essentialize. Sure, but you understand what I'm saying about how fame is something that is manufactured by others. Like who's considered important and who isn't is something that people have made. It's not a predetermined thing that one person has control over. And it drives me crazy because these people act like, what's another good example I'm talking about? You remember that Charlie bit my finger video where it's like a little boy, oh, Charlie bit me. You know that kids bite each other and do all kind of stuff like that all the time. And that's like a really wholesome moment that essentially is something that happens all the time that was just caught on camera. So You understand where if a video like that, where it's just a kid biting another kid, which happens all the time in real life, can go viral. Don't sit here and tell me that somebody being celebrated for working for some company for years is something that should only get a couple hundred views. Like you don't determine that because the stuff we've seen that's been able to garner loads of attention is not all that great. And is well, and what I mean by that is not there's nothing about it where I would say it especially stands out like, wow, we've never seen this before. Oh, they drive me crazy with that. This video is not important. This topic is unimportant. Like, man, are you serious? Every topic I like, there are videos with millions of views talking about it. If we talk about cartoons, there are people who have millions or hundreds of thousands of views talking about cartoons. If we talk about the news, there are people who have hundreds of thousands or millions of views talking about the news. We talk about stupid chicks. There are people who have hundreds of thousands, including me at one point, views talking about stupid shit. So like I will never believe that there is a single topic that is so uninteresting that if people made a concentrated effort, it couldn't go viral. I refuse to believe that. I've seen too many varying topics get some type of recognition on this site to believe that. I don't buy it. No, they don't arrive at any position. They just say stupid, goofy, dumb things, and then expect the rest of us to just be like, "All right, yeah, 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 yeah." It just really upsets me because, like I said, I don't even, I'm not someone who's trying to say that. Let's go ahead putting it like I get a lot of people don't really care about becoming notable or being famous, and they just are fine with where they are because there is such a thing as people are just content with stuff. But I always felt like if someone does something and you can make the case for why it's really good, it's very unique, why the hell can't more people know about them? What would be so bad about that? I don't know. Things are just really wacky. And there's a lot of stuff where I feel like people just again they have no imagination or ability to work with stuff. This person is ugly. You just sit there and you're like, man, shut up. This person is not important. It's like according to who? So I said, I'm just tired of these people who treat their opinion like it's a fact and act like we're crazy if we look at this and go, hey, I don't really believe that. I don't think that's the case. Oh yeah. Earlier, uh so it was Saturday evening leading into yesterday morning. I go on this one guy's Twitter page because he always has news about I think yeah, Dragon Ball. And he says, "Oh, the new DB games that came over the last couple of years are on sale on Steam." And I'm like, "Oh yeah. Yeah, right." Because I've had people make fake screenshots of stuff when I went over to Steam and I saw how much the prices on those things were down, my jaw hit the floor. They were selling, just to give you an example, they were selling Xenoverse 2, a game that cost $60 on like its base price is $59.99 for $8. Then they were selling Fighters, the Ultimate Edition, which is like $80 for 15. And they also had Kakarot for 15. And like I Kakarot is one of those three that I was the least interested in playing because I don't like how you can only play as Sans and Piccolo. But um the game's price being cut into a fourth of what it originally was made me pick it up. And right now, I don't even have anything to play that stuff on because I have a Mac, so I don't. This stuff only runs on PC. But man, those were some deals that I had to do a double take. I couldn't believe it's like what they're selling that for how much? Really? That was amazing. But yeah, to get back to what we were talking about, I don't know. I feel, and this goes back to the thing of how like you have these people who when they're doing their like weird appeal to me or like I guess trying to argue with me, they try to do like a broader, like a greater scope philosophy angle. It's really weird, but like they've said things to the effect of, "Where do you think you will be in 5 to 10 years?" And another one was like, "Where do you when when you pass, the money you had is left behind, but the things you did are what you are remembered by." It's like, well, I mean, what have you yourself done to even be trying to make me feel bad about what I've done? It's just it's like really weird, right? But I do believe that there should be some type of like, how do I put it this way? If someone was important to you and you had some special relationship with them, we're not talking about no romance crap, right? We're talking about actual people that matter to you in some respect. I do believe there should be some effort on your part, even if it's a small one, to maybe make sure that person is remembered. Like I know some people that put flowers on graves or whatever, and whatever. I always thought that was like whatever, like people can do what they want, but ideally, um, there should be other way. Like I'm not saying everybody has to write a book, but just there should be something done on the part of people who cared about that person and think they were important to remember them. But then again, a lot of people they treat somebody like trash when they're alive and then they keep doing it after they pass too. So I guess we shouldn't be too shocked. As in, like you have people who are related to somebody, and when that person is alive, they don't call them, they don't send them a message, they don't do anything with them, right? But then after that person dies, I miss them and I love them and they meant so much to me and they were so important and it's such a joke because it's like where was all this affection, last year? So I said people have to they need to have some level of just I don't know. I like consistency, yeah, but I do believe there should be some better treatments of certain people as far as like more people should know who they are, have some like base level of respect. So I said this whole thing is just so awful. Just in terms of the way others get treated. But yeah, it really drives me nuts that people do the angle of like, oh, this person doesn't matter. It's like that's determined by who? Because there are a lot of people who you've never heard of that have done important things. And sometimes it's not even like when I was I've always been like fascinated with different historical figures by like what you know by like learning about their parents, like how they grew up and whatnot. But even like actual like historical figures in and of themselves, like people who did important things to where they're known for doing those things, as opposed to like being related to somebody who did something important, even they get fairly neglected as well. And it's really sad too, because it's like in an effort to prop up the same like couple of people, we just completely forgot about a lot of them to where it's like I don't know, I just think it's so sad and really depressing that stuff is that way. It looks like Kotsky Merchant probably fell asleep. I understand it's pretty early, so he's trying to get some rest. I was trying to get some rest too, but I got we call it messed with. This whole thing just sucks. I don't know. I've always wanted to play some of the modern games that have come out, but let's go ahead and put it. It's hard to because gaming in general, in my opinion, just costs too much. And I guess I can explain it in a second. I'm just looking through this thing, trying to make sure I got the right image. Uh, okay. So what I mean by that is, let's say I want to play 3 games on. It could be Xbox 4 or Xbox One, I should say, and then PlayStation 4. I always get those mixed up. But from what I've seen, PS5s cost like what, 500, $600. So okay, you go to the cheaper one, like all right, get Xbox One, and that costs what, 300, 400. You know, then you get the games, which are all 59.99 at retail. I know sometimes you can get them cheaper online, but still 59.99 retail price. Then you get the Xbox Live, which you have to keep paying for every month. And then you have to get the DLC for the game because these companies keep putting out these half finished games. And by the end of it, you're like, damn, how much? Like, seriously, if you screw around, you can end up spending 700, 800, $900 just to play 3 games for a month. Because again, the console itself costs hundreds of dollars at minimum. The If you got Xbox Live, that's a price you pay in addition to your regular Wi-Fi. Um, the games on average are 59.99. So if you get 3 of those bastards, that's like what, $180. And on top of that, you have to buy the DLC or else you don't get the full game. I just don't bother with those people. You can't reason someone out of a position they didn't arrive at reasonably. But you get where it's like a really weird thing to be like opposed to like you want a normal person that you cared about to be remembered. It's like what the hell is wrong with that? So I said some psychopaths on here, man. No, it wasn't arrived at reasonably, not at all. I don't think it's reasonable to get offended because somebody wants to remember someone that like they cared about. Like if somebody made a channel where they're doing videos on why let's just throw again I'm gonna throw out another name on why what's her name? Kesha, I think the singer, like why that's the best singer ever. And they start making videos on like her early life and what she was like growing up according to different people. That wouldn't offend me. Like I wouldn't be mad that somebody else cares about this person. There are a whole bunch of chicks on Twitter that are drooling over Andrew Garfield. You don't see me getting offended there. They post all types of pictures of him. They draw him. Whatever. I mean, like I don't. So I said, like certain stuff is so inoffensive to me, even if it's something I wouldn't participate in because I don't hold the same like view or whatever. It still doesn't bother me that somebody else does it. So I said people need to mind their own damn business. Ugh. And they need to find real stuff to get outraged over. Like instead of getting mad that somebody wants to remember a person they cared about and wants them to be known by more people than just them in a tight knit group of people, and getting mad because somebody watches the English dub of a cartoon that you like. Why don't you get angry over something that actually is affecting people in some bad way? Because last time I checked, putting up a video about why you like a person or like a cartoon or something, that doesn't hurt anybody. So I said outrage culture is just so stupid to me. It's just people getting mad over the dumbest stuff. Things that have nothing to do with them, things that are that are by definition inoffensive because they're hurting no one. They're like, stop doing this. It's like, who are you to tell me what to do? Just it's weird. I think I might get the if any of those three games I get the DLC for it probably would be Xenoverse 2 because that game has a lot of it. But even then I still wouldn't get any until after playing it and seeing if I enjoy it, which I remember enjoying the first one, so I theoretically should enjoy this one as well. It's just kind of irritating that they have this. I mean, I've never seen another game in all of my years that has 12 DLC packs, and they're all like $5 a piece. Like I said, if you screw around, you can end up spending $1,000 just to play a couple of games. It's really sad. Gaming is very expensive for no damn reason, too. And Akatsuki Merchant knows what I'm talking about. He's played these games as well. He knows when you go online, you see all these prices and these con artists. They're like, I've got you now. They're sitting here like, man, I really wish I could just play this game and have some fun. And you're getting in the way of this. Oh. I don't even know if I want to play because like I got DBD as well, the regular one. That's the one I'm looking forward to probably the least because I've seen how people act on those, where they're calling you out your name and using whatever racial slurs they like. I always thought that was so pathetic that you beat people in a video game or you play a way they don't like, and then they say that type of stuff to you. That's why usually in endgame, like well, on the mobile, they don't have the right to say whatever they want, but Usually, but I can't, like, in most instances where I could say something to someone in a video game, I usually don't. I just keep playing because I think it's pointless to like argue back and forth with somebody about some game. Like I've won some, I've lost some. It's really not anything for me to sit here and I don't know. Usually, if I get angry, it'll probably be me sitting there like, "Oh my god," it won't be me. What are you doing? You're the, just I don't believe in that stuff. So I guess I'll wrap it up here because I've got some stuff that's supposed to be coming today as well. Though it's not coming for like another at least hour, and it could be even longer than that. So thanks, but I am getting hungry. So thanks for showing up, Akatsuki Merchant, and I'll do another stream on Saturday.